In 3, 2, 1.
What's up, YouTube?
Say hello, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
What's going on? All right, ready
Let's
for the
do
podcast?
this.
Let's do
Here
it.
it goes. We're going in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to another episode of Business Bros. What up, ladies and gentlemen? What'd you say? What'd you say?
I wanted to get in on that, so should we try it again?
Yeah,
do it.
sure.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Woo!
I
had
love
to
it.
do it.
Yeah,
Sometimes it deserves an encore.
It
Yes.
does. One more time. No, I'm just playing.
Don't overplay it.
Yeah.
Don't overplay it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode. I'm Hernan, her host of the Business Bros podcast, and I'm here with my co-host. I almost,
You almost named me. It's
I
cool.
almost did it. Yeah, go for it.
James C.S., the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're really excited to have you. We always appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for joining us. We do have a very exciting show planned for you today with Ms. Tracie Schmidt from Supreme Lending. Welcome
Yes,
to the
thank
show,
you.
Tracie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yes, Tracie Schmidt, Supreme Lending.
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day it is, yes.
Hump
It-
Day.
finally, a beautiful hump day in San Diego.
Yeah,
gorgeous out. I love
summer
the
has
view.
finally arrived, right?
Whoa, don't curse it
Absolutely.
now. We've said that a couple of times already, and it's still been June gloom.
That's true, but July's around the corner. All right,
Yes.
before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, quick reminder, 365 pairs of shoes by the end of the year. That's what we're shooting for. Thank you to all the people who've already donated. New shoes, used shoes, cash donations. Hit James up 619-884-0045 or james@csfirst.com. He'll hop on his Harley right over there and pick them up. We're getting closer and closer and closer to our goal, so help us out. We really appreciate it. This Christmas is going to be a good one. We're going to give some away in I think next month because people's feet get hot.
Yeah.
And so, I've seen people walk around with no shoes, and I want to make sure that, we start giving some of them
Do
away.
you know how many you have so far?
You know what? We haven't counted. We've just been stacking them.
All right.
We should keep count. But
Keep count, see how close we are.
yeah, we should put a meter on a little thing
little
right here in
shoe
the back.
meter.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll help
Perfect.
everybody visually see what's going on. All right, you ready to rock and roll? Let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
All right, Tracie, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, well, first of all, we met at
Yes.
the expo, the SDAR expo, right?
We did, yes.
But-
I was manning a booth there, at one of many.
Yeah,
And,
one of many booths?
I'm a big part of a lot of organizations within San Diego real estate, so which
Tell
is
me
great.
about those.
Gosh, there's Nagel Rep is the one that we met at,
Mm-hmm.
and then Women's Council of Realtors, which was right next door. I'm a part of that organization as well. Then you go down a few, and there's ARIA, and then there's NAREP. So I get around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important that as an affiliate, in the mortgage industry, that we provide support to realtor organizations and, be there with our time and our volunteerism and just do what we can to help support real estate agents and getting their message out for the different organizations.
How long you been in lending?
Man, I'm going to age myself. So it's all I've known since college. So it's been about 22 years.
Woo. Well, I
Yeah.
imagine, you have quite a track record as far as the number of organizations you're with. That doesn't happen for a rookie
Yeah.
coming into the business, right? This is something that you learn to develop over time because it doesn't have a quick ROI, right?
It doesn't, yeah. I mean, I try to give, a lot of people want money.
Mm-hmm.
I try to definitely support with money, but financially, but also just with time. I think that's as important as money because it is all volunteer positions. And so, yeah, it's been good. I've learned over the years, as I've gotten older in this business, to give back more, and it's helped my business twofold, so.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, and you get to go to all kinds of cool events. Like the expo was cool.
Yeah.
But like Aria's gonna have a happy hour here coming up soon. And
Yeah.
BJ's.
Yep.
Right. And what
Aren't
was
they doing
it?
something in Vegas, too?
Yeah, usually they have, we have different state and national conferences we get to travel pretty much as often as we want. I mean, there's always something going on throughout the different organizations, so
Yeah, I mean, you guys
they
have
keep you busy.
Women Kicking Glasses coming up here next month,
Yes.
right? That's
Yep.
gonna be here in National City too.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it is. I mean, there's all kinds of cool things that realtors can go to and network with,
Absolutely.
as well as mortgage
Yeah,
people,
title,
right?
escrow, mortgage, anyone really in our industry, insurance people, photographers, stagers, pest people, inspectors. it's really just all about coming together and creating a good network. So when you do have a transaction, you're working with people that you know, like, and trust, and you have fun with.
Yeah.
All of the organizations that I'm a part of, I've gotten really close to people on the board and other members where they actually become your friends, and you end up hanging out with them outside of work as well, which is super fun. So.
Yeah, well, you work together, you
Play
have fun together,
Absolutely.
you end up raising families together.
Yeah.
You're gonna have 4th of July parties. They actually show up, even though it's not business related.
It's fun when you have your realtors show up to your birthday parties and your different events and get to see a different side of each other. So
22 years in loans. So you've seen some ups and downs.
I have, yeah. And right now it's a good time, but there definitely were some really dark times in our business. I went to, just a little bit about myself, I grew up on Long Island, so I'm an East Coaster. Ooh. And right after high school, I went to Bentley College, which is a little bit outside of Boston. It's a business school out there. And my senior year, I ended up getting an internship it was Norwest Financial at the time. And I was an intern, just banging the phones, selling car loans and insurance and mortgages, you name it, and getting paid very, very little. And they offered me a position when I graduated college, and fast forward 22 years later, and still in the industry. So it went Norwest, and then Wells Fargo Financial actually bought them out. I've managed for companies like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Countrywide, and now I'm a production manager, but my heart is doing loans myself. So
you said you, like, your senior year in college, you got basically a sales job without getting paid sales commission.
There was no commission back then. No, it was like, I think I made 18 grand a year.
Dude, that's tough. Like, and then for you to continue going and saying, you know what, I like this, I'm going to go into more sales.
Yeah.
Like, that's a tough sale on yourself.
Yeah.
Walk me through that time. Like, how did you decide I'm going to keep going with this? Like, what was going through your head? Because a lot of times you're about to finish your college years, right?
Yeah.
So you're growing up thinking, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to go to college, and then I'm going to get a good job, and I'm going to be cool. Yeah. But you went into sales.
Yeah, so I knew the path of Norwest was eventually management. So I knew you have to start somewhere, right? So you have to start at the bottom. You have to learn the business. You have to hit the phones. You have to master your pitch. You have to overcome objections. And you have to have people want to work with you and for you. And so eventually, I think it only took me probably about a year and a half after graduation that I was an assistant manager and then a branch manager, where they actually moved me to San Diego. I relocated from an office in Boston and came over here as a credit manager. And then a year in San Diego, I was managing the largest branch in California. They moved me to Fresno. So it was honestly just starting from the bottom, working my butt off, and then ended up getting into management, which ends up paying off for you. But
when you do you have a family?
I don't. It's just me.
Oh, okay. So making that move is a lot easier.
It was easier, yeah. I have nieces and nephews, and I always said my employees were my kids. Mm-hmm. When I was at a very young age, 24, 25, I was managing 20, 30 loan officers, and their commission was dependent on how well I led them. And so they were paying their rent and their mortgages based on me being their leader.
It's crazy when you have that kind of responsibility on your shoulders.
At a young age it was, but it got me to where I am, and now I get to focus more on myself, not being so much in management, which has been a nice shift the last couple of years.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that management thing, because I talk a lot of people who are in the business, but they're individual, like sole production, whatever it is. Maybe they have a team, but it's like they bring on a buyer's agent, they send them referrals. It's not always a well-developed, running, efficient machine type team. You spent some time managing people. You got people who were green in the business, and you're trying to teach them to get to a level where they can pay their bills, right? In a commission heavy situation. What type of stuff are you focusing your attention on? What type of stuff do you see that like they really struggle with when they're first getting started?
Yeah, I mean, the business has changed a lot. I would say probably even like 10 years ago, before all of the rules changed in the mortgage industry, we were hiring just really green people. I mean, they've never done a loan. We did have to teach them everything, right? And then licensing came around. You had to get your NMLS license, which definitely dwindled down the number of licensed loan officers that are out there. Now it's different. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to give the same opportunity to really green right out of college people, because you have to get your licensing, then you have to sponsor that person. And the business has changed so much that it's not lead based, right? Our business that we get is off of self-sourced relationships and referrals. And someone coming right out of college, most times they don't have that book of business established. So unless they go, I always tell people, work for like a bank or an institution that's going to be able to provide you leads first. Get your feet wet, do well, meet realtors, go out and network. When you're doing that for about a year, then I try to have them come to me. And if they're still in the business, that's a good sign. And then I try to help guide them then in developing value to give to a realtor to kind of grow that business. So.
Yeah, it's tough coming out of college and having a COI of 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a really tough business. It takes a really long time, you know, and even in these organizations, it takes a year, 2 years sometimes before you even get a referral transaction of just putting in kind of blood, sweat, and tears with it. But eventually people believe in you and know how hard of a worker you are, and they give you a shot. And then luckily, because I'm able to perform, it's led to multiple transactions with those people. So that's how you build your business.
Now, when you got in the business, it was a lot of pick up the phone and knock on the doors. Well, hey, we're about
I didn't knock on doors.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just the time frame, right? Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like I had a pager when I was in high school. Yeah. Right? Put quarters in the phone, or 1-800 collect, right? Yes. If I said 1-800 collect to a high school kid that that I see on a regular basis, they're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
I remember that because we used to have to do collections as well, and we'd have to literally drive to people's homes that didn't pay their bills and knock on their door. And my manager gave me a Thomas guide, and because there's no
Google Maps,
Google Maps or cell phones, and I just remember driving around endlessly because that's one downfall that I have is
I don't even know what part of the grid I'm on.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this thing? I was in the completely wrong place. But it was a learning experience. I mean, people would finance furniture and birds back in the day, and we would have to go and like repossess things. And I was this young kid, sitting there telling someone that I had to take their bird from them. But it teaches you
what
life
do you
lessons.
do with the bird? When you repossess a bird,
you give it back to the store. I mean,
yeah,
you do. I mean, they weren't paying their debt on financing the bird. I've seen a lot.
Man,
it's been I've seen 16% interest rates, 20% interest rates, 10 points on a loan back in the day. And it was all allowed. And thank goodness they've come up with a lot of restrictions and things and what you could charge people now. But and then I saw the market basically crash in the short sales, and luckily we're not in that direction right now. But a branch closed of mine, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and my pay got cut in half, and I had to commute to Anaheim and go from management back to a loan officer, and it was humbling. But it taught me how to manage my finances better and put myself in a good position. God forbid that ever happened again. So,
yeah. Well, the market's super hot right now. Interest rates are in a nice spot.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's on the downside is probably affordability. It's you live in San Diego, prices are high, but money's cheap at this point. And so I'm sure you're busy with refis right now. You're busy with new home purchases. I mean, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
What advice would you give some younger agents or your team for that matter on, what's to come? Like, it's not going to be pretty forever. Yeah. Right. So, what kind of stuff are you looking out to the future?
I just think I always stay positive, right? I'm the person where I don't turn the news on in the morning. I don't read the newspaper. I try not to follow rates. I mean, you obviously know in this business when they're good because you're busier. There's always an opportunity, right? So when refis are not there, purchases are there. When a 30-year fixed rate is higher, an adjustable rate goes down, right? There's different programs. People always need cash out. They always want to do home improvements. People always want to buy and live the American dream. So I tell people just to stay positive and ride the wave. Keep your relationships going. If you're busy, it's even more important to continue communicating with your referral partners, because just because you're busy, don't give them that same level of service. So when you're not busy, right, they're going to continue to think about you and use you. But don't count your chickens before they hatch. Right now with rates as low as they are, it's for us as loan officers, people shop you, right? So you think you've created a relationship for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they're seeing online that they think they can get 3%, which in your mind with experience, there's always a catch to that. But they're, and then they're like, well, why is their rate 3% and yours is 3.5% or whatever the case is? So you just have to deliver really quality service, develop relationships, build rapport, be there for people.
Or they don't understand some of the actual technicalities, like the difference between APR and APY.
Yeah.
Right? Understanding, how that, it's math. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Well,
but the lower number.
Yeah. And it's
looks more
also
attractive.
every situation is different, right?
Yes.
People come to me often and say, oh, my neighbor just refinanced and they got X. Okay. Well, there are things that go into an interest rate, right? Your credit score, your loan to value, your debt to income ratio, what type of program are you getting? So every situation is different. So I just tell people, if you're in the market for a refinance or a purchase, go off of your own personal situation, talk to a licensed loan officer, whether that be myself or someone else, and just understand what you personally qualify for, right? It's difficult to compare yourself to someone because you don't know deep down if their FICO score is a 600 or a 780. They're not going to tell you.
Yeah, they weren't sitting around at the barbecue talking about their
debt to income ratio. They were just talking about rate, Yeah. So I try to tell people rate's a number. Don't let that be the leading factor when you're trying to buy a home. Affordability is really important, especially with young home buyers and first-time home buyers. It's, what payment can you afford? You don't want to, even if I tell you that you can afford $5,000 a month, you personally can only afford $2,000. You have to communicate that with me to make sure that you're not overbuying something that you are going to struggle with down the road.
Because we saw a lot of that in 2008. People were really overextended.
Absolutely.
And you talked a little bit earlier about, when a 30-year mortgage doesn't work, you can go to an ARM, you can go to an adjustable rate, and that fixes your monthly payment for at least 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, 7 years, whatever it is that it's a fixed rate. But things will change. Yeah. Things will adjust.
The problem before was that it wasn't being communicated in the proper way. And right now, 30-year fixed rates are so low, and that's the program that most people are going with. But when that changes and shifts, then usually what will happen is we will go back to adjustable rate mortgages. But it's having the communication with your client, making them understand it. And that's why someone seasoned like myself, we understand that those are the conversations you have to have. We're not after the paycheck, right?
You're okay having a tough conversation.
Yeah, you have to give them their options. It doesn't benefit me if you take a 30-year fixed or a 5-year ARM. It doesn't matter to me. It's what you personally think you can handle, and what is your situation going to look like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years down the road.
You've worked with a number of agents, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
What do you think an agent is looking for in a lender partner to work with?
That's a really good question. So I'm a realtist, right? So I personally know first realtors tend to start working with someone that they know, right? So if you knew me personally, you knew me from high school, you knew me from college, we were buddies, you're going to give me a shot first, right? But the minute that loan officer doesn't perform, as a real estate agent, you're going to be like, is this in the best interest of my client? Let me kind of see who else is out there. So then real estate agents, I believe, will go to different networking events, hear it through the grapevine, have a transaction close in their office and hear from their coworker how great so-and-so was. And then that's when they kind of reach out and communicate with you. And again, it's in the transaction. So I think what they're looking for, honestly, is for the deal to close. Have a lender be a great representation of them and their brand, because at the end of the day, they're referring us. So if we do a really horrible job and we don't communicate and we don't close on time, that real estate agent ruins their reputation in the market, because maybe that listing agent won't accept an offer from them in the future, right? Or they'll get the reputation of not being able to close as a real estate agent. So I think that's really important to the agent, is communication. That's why my agents work with me, is you have to give communication to all parties involved every step of the transaction, whether it be pre-approval, appraisal ordered, appraisal in, clear to close. Throughout the whole thing, we have an automated system to make sure everybody understands what's going on.
Well, that's always awesome, especially with the client, right? The client should always have that communication going forward, like very much through escrow. You should be always constantly communicating. Yeah. What type of stuff are you doing to keep in contact with your realtor partners afterwards? Because, it's one thing where you close a transaction. Of course, those people you want to keep in contact with your clients, but you also want to maintain that relationship so that you're getting more referrals.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned in this business, being in it as long as I have, is I thought the number of real estate agents was the most important, right? So if I had 100 or 200 real estate agents that I know, I'm bound to get 10 transactions. And as you get older and you learn the business a little bit more, it's quality, not quantity, right? So I tend to work with the same group of real estate agents that I've been able to develop that relationship with, because I can give really good service to 10 agents versus giving okay service to 100 agents, right? So if I can find a way to help those 10 agents get more business through the value that I provide, it'll benefit them and it'll give me the same amount of transactions as if I were to spread myself super thin. So what I do with the agents after is, I love throwing housewarming parties for my clients, right? So usually we let them settle in, 30, 60 days, we touch base. We do a housewarming party with the real estate agent. So that's kind of our next touch with the client together. And then I do post-closing campaigns where I include the agent that I work with on that marketing material for them at no cost. So basically I send out like the postcards, the anniversaries, the birthdays, and keep the agent. Real estate agents sometimes aren't the best at staying in touch with their clients, so I try to help them do that.
Yeah, because that's definitely the follow-up, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the difference between somebody, I always say this, anybody I talk to that has been in real estate or pretty much any sales gig, is you talk to somebody who's been in the industry for 10 years or 15 years, 20 years plus. If I asked you where you get most of your business from, where would you say you got it from? Referrals. And that's always the case because you've figured out that that's where it was. Where would you say you got most of your business when you first started?
It was lead gen. Yeah. So like it was people that called in, the Wells Fargo, the banks, they have consumers, right, already for other things other than mortgage. And so for me, I only do mortgage. Mortgage is what I live, I breathe, I eat, I sleep. I do a lot of video, and in my videos, I'm like, I love mortgage.
I saw your firework video.
You did? Yeah. Good. Yeah, it's what I know, right? And again, that's community involvement. It can't just be about mortgage all of the time. You have to give value to your community. You have to get people to know, like, and trust you. You have to be present. You have to be with the times, and social media and video is an important part. And that's where our industry is going to, right? So it's kind of that next step. I think like it is referral based. It was lead based. It's not like that anymore. What I love is when I do such a great job for a client and then they refer their friends and family. So it doesn't have to come from a realtor necessarily, but you can go ahead and get that referral and give that referral back to the realtor that gave you the initial referral.
Yeah.
And
now it's like both ways.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I kicked butt and they referred me their brother, but hey, let me turn it back to you, Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, and let you work with the brother.
Yeah.
So
and it
reciprocal.
It actually works really, really well because they had an overall experience with both realtor and lender.
Yeah.
And so they understand that the first step to buying a home is to get pre-qualified.
Yes, hopefully.
Because, hopefully after the process, they realize that was the first step, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, it's now you're generating the referral. Now you're going to bring in that partner so you guys can have a very similar experience.
Yeah,
and kind of replicate over and over and over again. Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's what, going back to when we were first talking about having great relationships with the people that you work with, you're in a transaction with someone. I mean, sometimes I'm working with buyers for months, for years before they get into a home. And so I have to communicate with that buyer and touch them constantly, but also with the realtor. If you gave me a referral, it's my job to keep in touch with that person and stay in front of them to ensure that when they're ready to buy, they buy with you and with me. And a lot of people drop the ball with that and they don't keep that communication. And then all of a sudden the bright, shiny realtor or lender shows up at an open house and they go away. So I pride myself on keeping that relationship and being able to keep the realtor involved with it as well.
So let me ask you, you said earlier social media is, video, social media is the next best thing. How would you grade yourself on how well you're doing on social media?
I mean, personally, I always give myself an A. But if I gave myself a D, then who would want to work with me, right? So, no, it's been something I actually, and I was looking kind of at your bio, and I think it's either yourself or your brother. Are you a real estate coach as well? Okay. So I made a really great decision, and I hired a real estate coach about a year and a half ago. She's actually a real estate agent up in Northern California, so it wasn't in this market. She did about 151 transactions in the year that I hired her. And she coached realtors. So as a lender, I'm like, there's something she's doing the right way. So let me reach out to her. I messaged her on Facebook. Her name is Krista Mayshore. And it's Krista Mayshore Coaching that she's a part of, and it's in Northern California, so there's no competition down here.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, good. But I reached out to her on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, I see you everywhere, right? Like, you're doing something. I want to be you. Would you mind mentoring me? And she had no idea who I was. And she messaged me, and she's like, what's your cell phone number? So I gave her my cell phone, and she called me, and she's like, I'm actually starting a coaching program. If you wanted to be a part of it. I joined, and fast forward a year and a half later, and now I can walk into a room and people recognize me off of Facebook or the videos that I do. You said you saw my fireworks video, right? It's a testament to that. So I've really been able to try and become a community market leader, like I was saying, where before you focus on like rates and mortgage and buying, where it's like, let me show you where the fireworks are, right? Let me show you what's happening in our community. What's the next best restaurant? Just things that people are interested in and want to hear about.
Yeah. By the way, I do mortgages, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just somewhere on your screen.
They need to know and like me.
Yeah, that you're in lending. I mean, I saw you had your logo right on there.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I don't think you said anything mortgage related.
I didn't.
But
Not
it was
one
there.
thing.
Like, I knew that's what you did.
Yeah.
But you're giving me something that I found interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
All
good information.
Next time you have something come up, I'm like, what are we talking about this time?
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the point.
That's what it is. It's people, again, it's very rare that you're going to get a complete stranger to jump on Facebook and buy a house with you tomorrow, right? But they're watching your videos, they're liking your posts, they come back and they come back and they come back and they start to feel like they know you. And that's why I was saying, like, I could go into a room and people are like, I saw your video, or I've seen you somewhere. I get that all the time. And then I start listing all the things that I'm a part of, and then it usually comes down to social media or something like that. So
it's funny. I was paying attention to my kids' stuff, right? Because I have them on social media, but we always monitor what they do. And I'm looking at some of the stuff, and they've actually taken some of the advice that I always tell them. I go, if you want to talk to these people, reach out to them, send them a DM. So I'm going through their stuff. I'm like, who are all these people? They reached out to their favorite YouTubers and sent them, you know, like, hey, how's it going? Or I like your stuff, right? But it's kind of that kind of, you know, go out there and be proactive and reach out and do something, and you're going to get that notification. My kids like and admire these YouTubers.
Yeah.
So they know them. It's not reciprocated yet, right? The YouTubers don't know them, but they've recognized them. They know, they like, they trust them. If they said you should buy this particular thing, they're most likely going to want that thing because they know, like, and trust them.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about here.
And in the real estate business, it is changing. I mean, there's a lot of online, let me provide you information, Google this and Google that. And it's a lot of it's coming away from that personalized service. I think it's still going to be necessary, but as a realtor and a lender, you have to be on the forefront of technology, or you're going to be lost in a few years. And so that's what I've really tried to dedicate doing, do a couple of videos a week. So I don't want to annoy people. Have my social media in check. I did learn that I can't do it all myself, so that's also a big lesson. So I hired someone part-time to help me with marketing, which I think is important when you get to that level of growth. You definitely need a good team behind you. You can't waste your time editing videos, even though I love that. I mean, I could do that all day. I love it.
It's fun.
It's so fun for me.
It's funny. I'm like, I just got to finish this one.
No, I love that. I mean, but again, it's like, that's not my highest and best use. So like the firework one, I just moved to Mission Beach like 3 weeks ago. So my whole life has just like changed in like this positive, like happy way. And I'm like, I'm just going to go down to the beach with my selfie stick.
Explore.
I rolled down there, I walked down from my house, and I have a selfie stick, and I had to retake it like 5 times. And I'm like, it's not perfect, but who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, and I posted it. And
but the authenticity is important, right? Yeah. It's you. And that's one of those things that stop a lot of people from doing their social media stuff is it's not perfect.
Yep.
And so if it's not perfect, I'm not going to post it. And because it wasn't perfect and they didn't post it, one day turns into 2 days, into 3 days, into a week, into a month, and they haven't posted anything. And then, then they're like, well, nobody knows who I am. Well, you haven't done anything.
And it's consistency. You can't put a video out and get some traction and be like, well, it's not working. No, you need to be consistent. I mean, and that's why hiring a coach is one of those things that's important to do, right? If you can't hold yourself accountable, or you don't have the idea of what you need to do to get from A to B, there are professionals out there to help. I do my best to try and support the real estate agents that I work with and guide them a little bit. I love doing lunch and learns and things where I bring realtors in and I try to teach them running ads on Facebook or, you know, different things they can do on social media, because I feel like it's important to provide them value. And it's great, but again, I can't do it for them, right? They have to leave my office and go and implement it. And then if they can't figure it out, hire someone to help.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
it sounds so easy, right?
It sounds easy.
Yeah.
It sounds easy. But again, I mean, you actually do have to sit back and be like, okay, well, if I'm going to hire somebody, where's that money going to come from? Like if you're not already doing the basic fundamental things to grow your business, like, you know, I always say, like, social media, yes, it could be your number one spoke for lead generation and all that stuff. It could be, but most of the time it's not. And most of the time it's, how are you building your circle of influence? You need to build that circle of influence and then farm it and nurture it. And you can do that and then, you know, supplement these other things. So, you know, that is one thing, but it's a very vital thing. It's becoming more of a consistent thing, and it's free. Like you don't have to do ads. You can.
You don't have
and they're
to.
very powerful.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. If you actually stick to this, you can grow your COI easily and for free.
Yeah, it's in addition to, right? It's something to supplement what we're doing. And so you have to be part of organizations, you have to volunteer, you have to go on podcasts, you have to get yourself out there, and you have to do social media and video. And it's the different facets of getting yourself out there and getting recognized and noticed. And it takes a while. I mean, I know people that, even for me, 6 months in, 8 months in, I'm like, but it takes probably a good 9 to 12 months where you finally are like, oh my gosh, this is working.
9 to 12 months of
consistency, like schedule, you plan out your day, you have a certain day for videos, you are getting them transcribed, like you're following the entire plan. And then now I'm busier than I've ever been in this business. I'll attribute it to my hard work also, but it also helps to kind of have that plan and that schedule that someone gives you. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like what's the saying, James? The Albert Einstein saying, problems
cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that created them.
We say that on our podcast all the time.
Yeah.
Like you're stuck in your ways. You've already done this and you've plateaued. And if you can't identify the problem, it's because you're living in your problem. Yeah. So get somebody else to come over here and take a look at it. Exactly. And they're going to look at things that you never even thought of or thought that you were, you know, it's just, you know, like I always talk about like a cookie cutter community. Like you go to any like same house, and then there's a purple one. Yeah. Right. You didn't notice that purple one because you just saw the houses because it's your street. You see it all the time until somebody comes in and points it out to you. Absolutely. And that's the same thing in your own particular habits.
Yeah. And it's also momentum. I mean, when you start to, you know, get people to recognize your video, or you're getting more deals from it, or you're putting yourself out there more, it just, I'm a big believer in that, like the law of attraction, and the more you put out, the more you get back. And that's why, like the shoes, right? You're giving, right? You're thinking about others, and in return that will help you. Right. And so it's not in a selfish way, but I feel like you can motivate, provide value, and give, and you'll get in return.
It's funny because
been in business.
At the same time, it is probably one of the greatest feelings in the world is to be able to give. Yeah. Like it brings you some of the greatest joy, and I say this all the time. It's better than probably any drug, any adrenaline rush you've ever had. It's really a really, really good feeling. It warms your heart to be able to do that. Yeah. And you know, in a way, it is selfish. You kind of are doing it to feel good, but at the same time, if you just find the right things in your own life to go after in a proper way, success, like if you want, well, you can have anything you want in this life if you can help enough people get what they want. Absolutely. And so if you figure out how to do that efficiently at a high level, I mean, the world is your oyster.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we're in the business we're in. I mean, it's serving, like getting someone that has the dream of owning a home and having no idea how to start, and having their first conversation with you, and you being the first person they talk to about that dream, and then helping them understand how they get to that, and then seeing them get the keys. It's amazing. I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? And it's hard sometimes, and there's obstacles that you have to overcome. And some people, you have to tell them, unfortunately, that they're just not ready, but you give them a plan, right? It sucks when people say, well, that person never called me back. Well, yeah, they didn't call you back because they knew that they couldn't get a loan from you right away. But let's put you on a plan to home ownership, right? We call it like road to home, right? What can you do to get there and eventually own? And it might take you a few years, but at least you give them something and make them feel like comfortable.
Takes one step at a time.
Yeah,
Let's
someone has to help
steps.
them, right? So it's like we're all busy, but we owe it to people in the industry that we're in to provide service to people that aren't the transaction today. And that's why I always say I don't work for the paycheck. You know, it's again, talking to as many people as possible. It's as many opportunities as possible. And then eventually, the more people you talk to, the more opportunity you get.
And you want to put it in sales talk, it's filling the pipe.
Yeah.
Right? It's lead gen. You fill the pipe. Some of them are ready today. Some of them are ready 60, 90, a year out.
Yeah.
But you constantly fill the pipe. You're constantly out there talking to people.
Yeah.
And eventually they come through and,
Yeah.
boom.
The testament really to doing a good job is, you have a client that you helped 7 years ago and they find you and they're like, you helped me and I want to buy another house. And you're like, yes. All of that communication that you do after and keeping in touch and staying forefront.
And they
actually
remembered you.
Yep.
They remembered you.
Yes.
All right. So we're rounding the bend on time. Cool. So let's do the Ask the Bros.
Okay.
So you can ask either one of us.
So I want to know who's older or younger.
Ooh.
That's it?
That's my first question.
First question. Okay. So I'm older.
That's easy.
Okay.
But only by like 15 months.
Okay. Right on. And so how did you start this podcast? Did you wake up one day and you're like, hey bro, let's have a podcast?
Yes.
Okay. That's really how it happened.
Okay. So you know how we talked about video?
Yeah.
So the first thing I was going to try to do is create a vlog.
Okay.
So I wanted to do one where we're just talking about business stuff, right? And so, recorded some video.
Yeah.
And I spent so much time editing it. I was like, this is too time consuming.
Yeah.
I can't do this. What can I do where I don't need somebody to follow me with the camera, where I don't need to do all this time editing? So I was like, okay, well, let's try a podcast.
Cool.
And so ordered the equipment and I told him, I was like, by the way, he was living in an RV right here on the side at the time. So he had just, he was going through he just finished driving the country in an RV.
Oh, right.
And so
on.
he was back, and
so you weren't just living in an RV, you had a point of living in an RV.
Yeah, he made it a point
you
to
should
live
start
in an
with
RV,
that.
yeah.
He drove around the country, then landed here in his
Yeah,
RV.
well, yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
So-
my brother's outside living in a van.
Yeah, he's outside. I kicked him out. Don't let him live inside the house. So I
Not
dragged
quite
him.
that
Yeah,
bad.
so I dragged him in. I was like, "Hey, dude, we're doing a podcast every day."
That's
and
awesome.
he was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Here, have a beer. Sit down."
That's another avenue. Again, I'm clueless when it comes to a podcast. I Googled you guys and then I'm like, oh, there it is. And then you have to download it. But again, that's something where it's like, okay, it's another avenue, right? So go learn it, understand it, maybe implement it, right? And that's another way that you can reach people.
It's just more exposure.
Yeah.
Another way to get your image out there, to get what you're thinking, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Out into the public, right?
Absolutely.
Top of mind.
Top of mind. Yeah. So no, you guys were great. I mean, I really enjoyed talking to you the first day that we met, and it's been great follow up. So I mean, you guys are organized. You know what you're doing. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
we weren't a
appreciate
year
it.
ago.
You weren't. See, it takes time.
It's definitely something that's grown, and it's like anything else. You get better and better as you do it.
Absolutely.
And so we take advice from anybody who's like, you should do this. And we're like, we should do that. And fix it, add
That's
it,
great.
and here we go.
So you do a podcast every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Monday through
That's
Friday.
hard. That's consistency and dedication. So
Yep.
that's
And we're
awesome.
coming up on a year, so July 13th will be a year.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
You're going
Rock
to do
and
anything for your anniversary? Have a special
You
your
know what?
anniversary podcast? or
Maybe.
something?
We haven't even thought of that.
Grind out the best of. Maybe do some clips, bloopers, something.
Ooh.
Come on.
That might
Well,
be.
there are no bloop. Well, I mean, all
Yeah,
the bloopers are
there's
left
gotta
in.
be.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
good.
actually don't edit. So
We don't edit out
yeah,
the
when we do
bloopers.
the podcast itself, the audio,
Yeah.
all I do is add an intro, add an outro, and I make sure that our audio levels are right,
Right.
and then boom, it goes out.
So if I cursed, it was.
Oh yeah,
all
it's
over for
okay.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
just
FCC doesn't regulate us, so we can say whatever we want.
Perfect. Well, I didn't, so thank goodness.
All right, Tracie,
Right
I
on.
want you to look
Okay.
into your camera here,
Cool.
and I want you to tell people how they can get a hold of you if they want to work with you.
Absolutely. So if you want to get a hold of me, and again, whether it be have a consultation as a client, first-time homebuyer, refinance, or if you're a real estate agent, kind of what we talked about, and you're just looking for a valued partner, you can reach me on my cell phone. It's 858-336-5200. I always ask people if they want to Google me, please do. It's just Tracie Schmidt or the Schmidt team. I love that because they can see testimonials, get to my website. Again, Instagram is the Schmidt team or Tracie Schmidt Mortgage. I'm everywhere. So you'll find me.
Just one quick Google
You'll
search and
find me.
boom!
Yes.
First 10 pages are all me.
I love that. No, I try for that.
Yeah, you worked at it.
Yeah. Yes. And I think a website is important as well. And you saw that on my fireworks video today. So I want to give people information, right? I mean, that they're going to Google you anyway, and they're going to look online. Mm-hmm. So I would love to give them good and correct, true information, and then talk to me. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to pay any money out of pocket. You just have to have a conversation and see if you're potentially ready to buy a home. And don't be scared or nervous about it. The worst thing I could do is put you on a plan down the road. So
yeah, for sure.
That's what I try to tell people.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Just find out the answers. You never know.
They
might guide you in the right situation, and you buy a house at 20.
You don't know what's out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask the questions.
Right
figure
on.
it out.
Well,
all right,
good.
Tracie. Last question.
Oh, go ahead.
Last question. Who do you think would be a good guest to have on the podcast?
Wow. So there's so many people. Are you looking for real estate agents?
Doesn't have to be real estate. Could be any business, any small business owner. Could be a realtor. Could be a lender. Could be escrow. Could be title. Could be. We had a restaurant. We had an entertainment company. We had a horse ranch.
Oh wow. Okay.
We're all over the place.
I know so many realtors that I'm not going to say a specific name, because I don't want them to say, well, why didn't you say my name? Yes. But I will be able to provide you some names for realtors. I'm always in my own little world of, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I could think of one person in particular. He was also at the table with me, Robert, and he is the broker of Keller Williams Metro. He and I have become really close in two of the organizations that we're both a part of, Nagelrep and Mariah. He's been a part of them a lot longer than I have, and he would be a great person to speak about the organizations, what they do, and coming from the real estate agent side, I think that would be important. So
for sure,
he's definitely someone. I think you met him when we were at the expo. He was at the table with me, but he'd be someone. We don't do business together, but he's just been sort of a guide and a mentor for me lately, which I really appreciate. And we don't ask of anything of each other other than just volunteering and giving our time to the organization. So
what was his last name?
It's Schantz, Schantz, and his first name is Robert.
We're gonna tag him on Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah, you should. He's a really good guy. He's someone that I'll be friends with for a long time. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, how'd you like it?
It was great. It was awesome. It went so quick.
It does, right? It
does.
Flies.
Yeah,
it flies.
I was nervous a little bit, but then once I get here, I love talking about what I do, so it was easy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't offer you any crown apple. That might have eased the tension. But
it's
sorry.
Don't worry about it. Don't sweat. So, well, thank you.
Of course. Well, thanks for coming out. We
Okay.
really, really appreciate it.
Cool.
Ladies and gents, quick reminder, 365 pairs of shoes by the end of the year. So if you have new, used, or cash donations, hit up James, 619-884-0045, or James at csfirst.com. And if you need insurance, homeowners, life, auto, commercial, whatever it is, hit James up, 619-884-0045, or James at csfirst.com. And if you want to add insurance into your particular business, maybe you own a mortgage company, maybe you own a real estate office, maybe you own a tax office, hit James up, 619-884-0045, or James at csfirst.com. I think I said it enough today.
You did, and I'm gonna challenge you and I doing a video for your shoe benefit.
Ooh, all right,
So
let's do it.
I think we should do a video together and promote it and get the word out there into our different networks. So
Love it.
I'm gonna
Let's
help
do
you
it.
with that goal. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll schedule something up.
Perfect.
I'll get my camera guys to come with me.
Let's do it.
All right, let's
Okay,
do it.
Love
cool.
it.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you guys today. Peace.
Bye-bye.
And I'm out.
Bye.
Thanks, Facebook. We love you.
Whoop, whoop. Love you, Facebook.
That's cool. I'll hit you up for
We should. Yeah, we should do a video and